everyone, welcome back to my channel. So two things. The first one is that there will be a Christmas giveaway on the video that's coming out on Thursday for Christmas Eve, so stay on the lookout for that. And speaking about giveaway, if you want a chance to win the giveaway car, which is this 2019 Ford Mustang GT, you can enter by going to DRVNFAST.com or Woman.Driven.com. I have both of those links and all of the details in the description down below. And remember, if you don't win the grand prize, there's also two more prizes. The second winner will win a cash prize of $2,500 and the third winner will win a cash prize of $1,000. Both of those are open to anyone worldwide. So again, if you're interested, you can check out all of the details in the description down below. But today, we are continuing to work on the Mustang GT. We will be installing a very important upgrade for when it makes more power. Ready to go. It's raised here on the lift. We will be working on something that a lot of people neglect once they add more power. So this GT will eventually have a twin turbo setup. So since it will be making more power, it will need better stopping power. So today we'll be upgrading brakes and rotors on all four corners. Now this specific car, this Mustang GT, has the performance package. So the size of the brakes and the rotors are larger than the one without a performance package. And to be honest, they're not bad. They're pretty good, but they are pretty heavy and they're not the best. And there's always room for improvement. So let me go ahead and show you the ones that we'll be replacing these with. So these are the brake pads and rotors that we will be installing on the Mustang GT today. And of course, there's no surprise that we are installing DBA brakes because my Red Eye has DBA brake pads and rotors as well as the GTR. Now the Red Eye has the DBA T3 5000 series rotors. Now these rotors are mainly for like a track setup, so something where you're going to be constantly braking. Not that I'm doing that, but eventually my goal with this car is to add a lot more power to it. So I do need that better stopping power. I plan on taking it to quarter mile events, half mile events, where I'll be taking it from really high speeds to low safe speeds really fast. Now the GTR has the same 5000 series rotors, but of course this car has been taken to the track many times with these. So pretty much these T3 5000 series rotors, both that the GTR and the Red Eye has, they're both meant for just that constant braking, and they're just meant to take that abuse. Now the ones that we will be installing on the GT are the XS 5000 series. Now you can tell here on the box, they're both drilled and slotted. Now these are a two-piece, at least for the front. So the front will be a two-piece rotor. So that means that these will be a lot lighter than the stock ones and will have a better cooling effect. Now these are mostly meant for a street setup, for street use. So these are going to have more of a smoother brake pedal, where these you don't have to constantly be stomping on the brakes for the Red Eye and for the GTR. So these would just give you more of that street feel, since that is what we're going for with this car. So again, switching to this two-piece rotor is going to offer more ventilation. It's going to reduce brake fade and just overall offer just better brake effectiveness. But of course, you have to pair these with a pair of brake pads that's going to be for the street setup. So in this case, we are going with the SP500 brake pads. Now, these are going to be pretty quiet. They're going to produce, I'd say, like about a low amount of brake dust. Now, these are going to feel smooth while still providing that strong brake bite. Now, on the contrary to the ones that the Red Eye and the GTR have, now those have the SP650 brake pads. Now those do have a higher temperature threshold, but they are a bit noisier. I'd say they provide like about a moderate amount of brake dust there, but they do have an even more superior brake bite and even less brake fade than these. But again, that's because those are more for a track setup paired with the T3 5000 series. So again, just for the application that they're being used, you do have a little bit of cons, but they do work really well with just that constant abuse that you'll be using these with. So let's go ahead and get started with this installation. As you guys know, brakes and rotors is pretty much straightforward. So I'm starting off here at the rear. Now the rear is going to be a one-piece rotor. Like I said, very simple. All we're going to do is remove the wheel. There's going to be a few bolts there. So we're going to replace the rotor and the brake pads as well. Then we'll put the wheel back on and then move on to the front. And just like I said, this was pretty simple, just a few bolts. So now that everything is off, let me come here and show you the new brake pads and rotors that we'll be installing here. So again, these at the rear are a one-piece rotor, just like the stock one. So there's not going to be any major difference when it comes to weight, but you will get the benefit of the aesthetics of these being both slotted and drilled, a higher performance rotor, and also the additional cooling with additional vanes. So now let's go ahead and install these. Let's install the rotors, let's install the pads, and then we're pretty much just going to do all of the steps in reverse, finish here, and then we'll make our way to the front. So this is, again, simple, just a little bit more steps involved. So this time we're going to start off by removing the brake pads. So there's 2 pins here that we need to hammer out. There's also a bolt here to remove this large pin. Then this bracket comes off, and then we can remove these brake pads. Then we need to remove the caliper. So there's 2 bolts here in the back, and then I'll just lay it here. Then we can remove this rotor. So this rotor right here, this is a one-piece rotor. We're going to be replacing this one with the 2-piece rotor. So the 2-piece rotor will be lighter than this one. So once I remove this one, then I'll go ahead and weigh it so we can see the weight difference between this 1-piece rotor and the 2-piece rotor that we'll be installing. So once we put the 2-piece rotor back here, then we're pretty much just going to do all of the steps in reverse. Put back the caliper. Once we have that in, then we can go ahead and put in the new brake pads, and again the same steps in reverse, and then we'll be done. I just wanted to show you the difference between the 2 rotors. So here we have the stock 1-piece rotor, and then here we have the 2-piece DBA rotor that we're going to be replacing these with. I have them here on the scale just to show you how much they weigh. So the stock 1-piece rotor weighs 34 pounds, and then the DBA 2-piece rotor weighs 25 pounds. So that's a difference of 9 pounds. So that means you're saving a total of 18 pounds in the front between the 2 corners. And again, just so you can see, you can tell the difference, well, you can visually tell the difference between this being a 1-piece rotor and then this being a 2-piece rotor, which you can tell here by the bolts. Now the weight savings in this comes from this aluminum hat right here. Another thing that I like about this is that when it comes time to replace these, you have 2 options. You can either buy this whole assembled set just like how it came like this, or you can just buy the ring and then assemble it yourself with these previous hats that you have. Now with my red eye, since these did come with 2-piece rotors from factory, all I did when I replaced them with the DBA rotors is that I reused the hat and then I just purchased the rings, and then I use them here. So I have the stock hats with the DBA rings, and I have them here at the front. So it's just these 2. But when it came to the GTR, it's a little bit time consuming because this one actually has 2-piece rotors on all 4 corners, so both the front and the rear. But again, this one is reusing the stock hats and it has just the DBA ring. So you do have that option. It is a little bit time consuming if you just decide to buy the ring and then disassemble it and then just assemble it again yourself with the hat. But it is less expensive than buying the whole kit assembled just like this. So I like that you just have that option. It just depends on what you want to do. If you want to spend a little bit more or take a little bit of time, or not just put it again just like this how it comes, which just makes it easier, but you do have those options. And this is how it looks now at the front. You can see that it's a big difference. It doesn't look so boring how it looked before, that one-piece rotor. Now I really like the aesthetic of it, of being drilled and slotted. It almost looks like the GT350 rotors. Those are just drilled. They aren't drilled and slotted like these. But now you can see this. You can come up to this and you're like, you know what? This car means business now. These brake pads and rotors. Before, it kind of looked like a little boring, but now it matches because you can tell it has an upgrade. It has these nice wheels, so I really like how it turns out. So that is it for this brakes and rotors upgrade install. Remember that there will be a Christmas giveaway on my next video that's coming out on Thursday for Christmas Eve, so stay on the lookout for that. And now that we're finished with this, we can start on suspension. I know that I've mentioned this quite a lot, but I just really wanted to get this out of the way, even though my next video won't be suspension. It's going to be two things. One is going to be a maintenance thing that it'll greatly benefit, especially since it will have the twin turbos, which you guys can probably already guess what it is. And then the second thing is going to be the last final cosmetic piece, which you guys can probably guess what that is too. So then once we're done with that, we can finally move on to suspension, because I can't wait for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.